How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another Fallout 76 video guide, and today we're going to be covering the auto axe. Now, I'm pretty proud of this build, and it's going to be a little bit different than what I usually do, and we're going to be focusing primarily on damage and endurance. We'll be covering perk cards, armor, buffs, as well as fighting a solo Earle, and showing you guys how much damage and how much potential this build can have. There will be timestamps below if you guys want to skip ahead, but with that, let's get right to it. Now, you guys can pause the video if you would like, and I'm sure you guys have noticed the level 2 slugger perk cards under strength, and the reason for that is because I'm using blocker to add a little layer of defense because melee damage hurts just a little bit too much. Now, if I was going to use a food drink chem weight reduction armor set, I can get rid of traveling pharmacy and actually max out those slugger perks and maximize the damage. Now, for the script that you guys see in endurance, it's because we're using some of the new revamped endurance perk cards that we've gotten in Season 18. Now, for those who haven't seen or heard about them yet, let's go over them real quick. So we have the Thirst Quencher that increases AP for each point of endurance while not diseased. All of them will be like this. We have the Iron Stomach that has a damage resistance based on endurance. We have natural resistance that does non-physical resistances, so cryo, poison, fire, and energy, as well as the Vaccinated perk card, which increases our disease resistance based on our endurance. Now, I recommend using this card if you don't have a lot of disease cures or antibiotics, or don't like going to the White Springs Fountain to get rid of your diseases. Now let's move on to the legendary perk cards. So for this build, I have maxed out legendary endurance, luck, intelligence, strength, agility, and for the last card is kind of preference. I like take one for the team because it gives a lot of extra damage when fighting bosses, but you can also swap this out for Brawling Chemist if you don't have psycho buffs and prefer to have a constant flow of a good melee buff. But now that we have the perk cards covered, let's go ahead and check out our stats and gear. Now, to show you guys real quick, these are the special stats that I'm working with right now, and we're going to be rocking 22 to 23 endurance for the entirety of this video. And I'm going to show you guys how much of an increase you guys can get for just that little amount of endurance. As you can see, Iron Stomach gives us 78 damage resistance. It'll go up here in just a second to 85. And the natural resistance gives us 49 energy, poison, cryo, and fire resistance. And then for our Thirst Quencher for the AP, 110. And for just that small amount of investment to endurance, we're getting a tremendous amount of stats. Now, just to show we do not have any buffs active besides our smoked Mirelurk fillet for carry weight, we have fully fed, and here are all the mutations that I usually run for this build. Now, I don't recommend running grounded because I usually take all my mutations, so grounded never has the negative effect, but if you're going to use the electrified mod, do not take it. Your energy damage will go down by a lot. Now let's move on to our PA set. Now, for this run, we're going to be running absolutely no legendary pieces of gear, and it's going to be a full Union PA set with the Calibrated Shocks mod, the Emergency Protocols mods, and the Tesla Bracers mod. Now, Tesla Bracers are fun to use, but Optimize is the best for auto axes and for your chainsaws. But for our auto axe, we're going to be using an anti-armor power attack Break Slower. Break Slower is my preferred third stat, but you can use +3 strength if you want more damage, 40% damage less taken while power attacking, or you can also use reduce weight if you think the auto axe is a little bit too heavy. But now that we got all that squared away, let's get into the fight. So we're going to be first hitting Earle with absolutely no buffs, and we are hitting for 222 damage with around 87 to 99 base without the headshots. We'll occasionally jump up to 253, which is pretty nice without using anything, right? Now let's go ahead and start taking some smaller buffs. We're going to be taking a Psycho buff, as well as Deathclaw Steak, Yaguai Ribs, and Whiskey. Now the Deathclaw Steak and the Yaguai Ribs are one of the easier foods that you can cook. I know they're the light versions that take a little bit less meat, but the extra food or the extra time and hunting for the meat is definitely worth compared to the light versions. Well, let's go ahead and check out the damage, and we're now hitting for 351. From running no buffs to now, we're hitting for 129 additional damage, and we'll also get a little bit of a burst damage up to 400, which for the smaller buffs, not being in a team, not having herd mentality active or strange in numbers active, we're able to push that damage a little bit further. Now let's go ahead and put on some of the larger buffs. We're going to be replacing the the Yogi ribs with the Yao Guai roast. You can also use the Tasty Mutant Houndstooth if that's what you prefer. And the Deathclaw steaks, we're going to be using the Deathclaw Wellington. Now let's go ahead and check out the damage with the difference in the food buffs. And from what we were hitting before, we're now hitting for 434 and getting a little bit of a burst to 494, which is a nice jump. It's a pretty good jump between what we were hitting with these smaller buffs. Now Wellingtons are a little bit of a pain to farm. I do recommend doing the Deathclaw steaks if you want to ease up on the food farm, because it doesn't require the eggs. But we're going to go ahead and take a Backwoodsman 6 now, and I'll show you guys the stats from what they were before. We're now with 9 strength and 255 melee damage with the Backwoodsman 6 magazine. Now if we had a teammate that was mutated and taking advantage of the Strange Numbers perk card, the Wellington would actually be at 11 strength, and the Yao Guai roast would be around 316%, I believe. But the jump in damage from what we had without the magazine to what we have now is up to 521. It's a pretty nice jump between each, I guess, type of buff, and the more that you add to it. Now if you really wanted to push your damage a little bit further, and you are prepared or willing to do this, you can use the Endangerol Syringer, because the auto axe does benefit off of its, I guess, debuff on the boss. Now fun little tip, any weapon that has the crosshair symbol in their damage will benefit from the Endangerol debuff. If you look at the damage now, we're hitting for 551 and occasionally jumping up to 600, which is a nice boost in the overall damage. Now let's take you guys over to a public Earle and show you guys how it fares in the public servers. Now this is going to be completely unedited, and I'm going to show you guys, first off, the buffs and stuff that we have. And this Earle was launched about, I don't know, 15-20 minutes after what you previously saw there. So all the buffs should still be active, the perk cards are the same, the weapon and PA are all the same. The biggest difference is now that we are on a team, we are now getting full benefits not only from our stringent numbers, but also herd mentality. But let's go ahead and take up a couple of our buffs, our whiskey and our psycho buff, pull out our Endangerol, and let's go ahead and tag our big boy Earle. Now I'd like to mention that when the Rebel drops, it usually drops at 25 minutes, and the players in this server aren't using anything too crazy. We have a 50 cal, a Holy Fire, and I don't know what the fourth player is using, so I'm the only auto axe user. But if you look at the damage, we're already hitting for 635 without a take one for the team proc, and the health is absolutely getting obliterated. But once that take one for the team proc hits, we're now hitting for 1005 damage, a nice hefty jump in our damage. And so far the time that we've been down here has only been 55 seconds. And when we continue hitting, we're going to get another jump in our damage for 1600. You'll now see that the HP is starting to absolutely get shredded. Thankfully, I remembered to take my Liquid Courage, so we're able to DPS him down even further and finish the Earle in 1 minute and 20 seconds flat. Now this build can be stronger if I had +2 strength on all my armor pieces or ran outside of PA, which honestly I think I'm going to end up doing here in the very near future. But that about covers it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found the information useful. If there's any changes that you would make, let me know in the comments. Now I'm pretty proud of this one because the endurance perk cards are a lot of fun and they have a lot of extra bonuses, and I think it's definitely worth it. But I would also like to mention that builds can always fit different playstyles, so if this isn't something that fits your playstyle, that's perfectly fine. And for those who are willing to try this build, I hope you enjoy it. Also, I'll leave a link below in the description, or you can click the card above if you guys want to check out one of my detailed melee buff guides that I have here on YouTube as well. It covers all the ways to increase your damage and such for any melee build that you use. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, happy hunting, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.